cannot tell you what an honor it is to be here. I want to thank ISTE, and I want to thank the TED team, and a really special shout out to some special folks in the room. Our Voice Academy, my family is here today. I am really honored to be able to share with you my story. So I'm standing in a courtroom, and on my left is this 6-foot-tall man looking at me like he wants to wring my neck. In front of me is a judge. She's got this great poker face, but I can tell by the slight lift in her eyebrow that this moment for her is at least amusing. There are others in the courtroom, and I could feel all eyes on me, sizing me up. The assumptions felt thick in the air. In this moment, I'm a young first-time homebuyer, representing myself against the wealthy real estate developer who sold me, and likely many other buyers who looked like me, a home, and did something really fraudulent in the process. I'll always remember that he chuckled as I approached the bench. He took one look and decided that the verdict was already in the bag. This moment is unfortunately very familiar. It's not the first, and definitely not the last, that I would have to wrestle down voices of self-doubt and step up to the plate when others took one look at me, and because of my appearance, my identity, or their own misplaced projections, would underestimate me and my competence. The me that showed up in the courtroom that day was able to do so because of some key experiences that I had had as a child. The types of experiences that all students deserve, but unfortunately, not all get. This is a notion in which I believe profoundly, yet I have taught in classrooms, and I have designed and ran schools for years, and I'm still left wondering, has my work lived up to my own promise to myself to fully equip my students in this way? The outcome in the courtroom that day should push all of us to consider the ways in which schools can dangerously perpetuate inequity if we're not more intentional about our work. ISTE, tonight I want to tell you that if we can get more urgent about educating ourselves about inequity, and if we can start to shift what we value and prioritize in schools, and can breathe a little more life into our classrooms as a result of these efforts, we will take some critical steps forward in equipping students not just to thrive, or to thrive in the face of injustice, but to be the generation that dismantles inequity from its core. Thank you. I want to tell you a little bit about what I mean. So I knew back in the courtroom that day that I was standing on many shoulders. I was raised by strong matriarchs. My mother immigrated from Jamaica in the 70s with barely anything in hand. That's right. 4'11", she's feisty, and she overcame significant obstacles and figured out a life for herself. Both of my grandmothers, my aunts, were fearless women who kept everyone in line with a quick tongue and a warm hug. I was fortunate to always have these examples of strength and courage like these around me. Now, my father, he's always been in his own lane. He's a complicated man who always wanted the best for me, and his parenting skills were quirky to say the least. I realize today that his quirk made up for the ways in which school would otherwise fall short, and would brace me for the courtroom that day in ways that all educators can learn from. I could spend a whole week telling you stories, like how since age 5 and until empty football stadium at college graduation, he would make me stand in front of podiums on empty stages. His answer to my protest was always consistent. You have a voice, it will be heard. Get used to being up there so that you're ready when the time comes for you to speak. Or his insistence that his daughter would learn to drive a stick shift, and well. Be the kind of woman who can get herself around whenever needed. When you prepare for unknown situations you can perform, you never know when it will count. Over time, these lessons became matter of fact, and they were always infused with reminders of pride in our ethnicity, our skin color, and those messages would play key roles in so many challenges I would face so many times later. Perhaps the quirkiest story of them all was one day when we rode bikes in the middle of Times Square. To teach me a lesson about the obstacles that life would throw at me, this is a true story, and to prove that I should be fearless when others get in my way, he told me to ride my bike directly into a crowd of people, fast and without stopping, no matter what. When people know you mean business, nothing and no one will get in your way. Be fearless and stay your course. If this sounds absurd to you, oh, I agree. But it turns out he was right. Each time, they would part ways and get out of my way. Now, it's New York, so there were obviously some colorful words involved, but they got out of my way. We hopped on the train then to Wall Street and then to Chinatown to prove that his lesson applied no matter where. No one will get in your way. I warned you, he's quirky. But I wasn't hearing these messages in school, so who would I be today if he wasn't delivering them? My father's life lessons can certainly apply to anyone, but they are particularly important to me as a woman of color. He reminded me that not everyone will see me in his eyes, and life confirmed those messages very early. Like when I was spit on and called the N-word by my own first-grade classmate, and my teacher reprimanded me for complaining too much. You have a voice, it will be heard. Prepare and perform, be fearless, and stay your course. I remember the way his unkempt mustache moved as my high school guidance counselor urged me to be realistic as he laughed about the 7 colleges I applied for and later got into. And I still get angry remembering a white colleague once telling me that we'd both go off and do bigger, better things one day after we completed this great project together, and maybe I could even be his deputy. You have a voice, it will be heard. Prepare and perform, be fearless, stay your course. Sometimes, the voice is sadly my own. Imposter syndrome eats away at me at times, and I pull on the inner voice that reminds me you have a voice. It will be heard. Prepare, perform, be fearless, stay your course. So, back in the courtroom that day, you can imagine all that was swirling in my head. I know I wasn't saving the world, but that moment represented so much more to me, and now to the students I serve. Here's the thing, I found out weeks later that I lost the case. Okay, I'm kidding, I beat the heck out of that thing. And I can only hope that that 6-foot-tall man will second guess the next time he underestimates someone shorter than him. You have a voice, it will be heard. ISTE, I look back at that experience proud of what I pulled off, but more importantly knowing that we could be doing more to ready our students to survive and also to lead in this world. What we're doing right now just isn't working. Too many are still getting the shorter end of the stick. So, we must first get urgent. Get urgent about getting all educators the meaningful, effective professional development needed to become fluent in all aspects of inequity. This means overcoming the natural resistance to discussing the uncomfortable, and including all educators at all levels of our education system, so that we can re-examine the policies and the practices that govern our schools through a shared lens that is uncompromising in its focus on equity. Simply believing in all your students while skirting past the tough issues is just not enough. Our schools are operating in ways that are damaging and unjust, and as Bishop Desmond Tutu famously reminds us, you're either working to disrupt injustice, or otherwise you're on the side of it. Once we establish this shared lens, we should then work to shift what we have come to value in schools, be it the obsession that we've developed with standardized exams, isolated learning objectives, or student programs without vision or direction. Through a shared and informed lens, we can more closely interrogate how we come to define excellence in schools. Then we may take steps closer towards addressing systemic inequity, and equipping students to lead the way. Last, we need to breathe more life into our classrooms. Those unique life lessons, thank you, from my father were deeply contextual and therefore had profound impact on me. We need to create more room in the curriculum that allows for the meaningful learning experiences that push students to question and disrupt the status quo in order to address the inequity around us. This work doesn't have to be on bikes in Times Square or on podiums on empty stages, but it can for sure be written into your instructional design, and most powerfully in your mindset as you decide what to bring into the classroom. My mother and father are deeply supportive of me, and my mom is actually here in the crowd tonight, ISTE. It's a longer story, one dad's not here, but he's there in spirit. And although I know that so a funny story about my dad, when I invited him, he had every intention of coming, but his first question was, well, how many minutes do I get to speak? My mom's also really upset that the story is not all about her. But Mom and Dad, I hope you see this and you're having a lot of fun, really feeling proud of what you've accomplished. I want so badly for there to be a day when every single child, no matter their background, is equipped to recognize when they're facing inequity and have the skills and self-confidence to overcome what's needed to pave their own path. For that to happen, we've got some immediate work to do. So let's all do our part. Thank you.